with the perfectly awful music. And hello. I'm Dan Lutz, and I'm here with Stefan Rowe, and we are Dank Live. And how's it going, Tank?
Everything is wonderful. Everything's wonderful. The world seems to be coming together in our favor. Everybody's taking action. Can you hear me okay this way?
I hear you perfectly. Actually, you're very loud, unusually. Yeah.
Wow.
So whatever you're doing, keep that up.
Okay. Good to know. So you see all the stuff going on today in the news and what's popping in every different direction. They've got.
I've been trying to catch up on those things. It does seem like this is a week to remember.
Yep. Let's hope it's a week. All the reports I have from every direction says that Deutsche Bank is going down. They're pulling out $1 billion. The people who, the patrons, I guess, they're pulling out $1 billion a day from Deutsche Bank. So there's a run on the bank, basically, which is a great witness to what was reported, that the banks are going to crash if they don't cooperate with Kim. I mean, that's the sixth largest bank in the world, and it's about to crash.
So I guess it's not one of the 5 banks that an offer was made to.
I don't believe so. No, I think that the plan was to take them down. That they were going to, no matter what, they were going to be, taken down. So, they hold all types of off-ledger funds that they've been trying to launder and give to, one group or another and try to bring their money in. So, it's an ongoing saga. Dan, I will say this. Lisa read this on our show the other day. This woman who came out and basically said, the RV, apparently we've been lied to. And she said, we all feel so embarrassed. It was a big was a big breakthrough, in my opinion, for them to
Really?
actually be seeing that.
Well,
So
let's
that to
bring
me,
her on. Let's bring her on.
I'm not sure who it is. It's one of these YouTube channels. But I will. I'll reach out to her, see what's going on. I mean, because I do think that that's a big. It's a big deal, to finally have people break through on that, because that collective consciousness to hold that in place still gives it some kind of viability, right? So we need to break that up. So
Right.
not if they're not working against us. Now, hopefully, we can build a new world together, where we can bring in money for projects. And allegedly, there's 3 banks that did agree to terms. I thought, by today we would definitely have a report, but Kim is still dark, so I haven't heard from her. She did tell me she'd contact me when she came back up. So, I'm waiting.
Well, we'll have to hold our breath and get extra momentum coming in here. But no, it's very interesting to know that someone else is, hey, we've all been lied to. Yeah,
Right. I know.
Deutsche Bank does hold a bunch of things. So I know on front lines, Tui came on. We were talking. He asked me about Swiss Indo, and we kind of were talking about. He wanted to know about the M1 position from that time, and also just happened to talk about certain things that were going on there, and how they were going to make these 11 payments to pay off world debt. And but when that kind of fell apart on the 5th payment, they had made a deal with Deutsche Bank, and they had made a physical deposit into Deutsche Bank of currency. I believe it was 180 container loads, and I saw the contract for it, right? And there was there at the time there were co-presidents of Deutsche Bank, and about a month after this agreement was made, the first one of the co-presidents left, and then like another couple weeks later, the next, or maybe a month or 2 months later, the next other co-president left, and they were replaced by one. Now, apparently, the story was something about the IMF had basically was the one that came in and messed and basically undid the deal or whatever. The new president came in, asked for a copy of the agreement because he said he didn't have it, that kind of thing. So I don't know what really happened there, but this was the Deutsche Bank was to be the one to they were going to issue debit cards for people, and then this physical deposit that was made would be used to literally send cash to people, and that's where that got shut down.
Right. Yeah, there's a version of this same story perpetuated everywhere in the world. And it's kind of incredible that at this point there's only one person who's ever been able to prove it, and that's Kim. And she's the only one who's actually moved money, in years and years and years. And now, you've got Steve Mnuchin, and he's talking about it, and he's saying, well, the United States might default on its debt, to the Federal Reserve because cash reserves are low. It's like, this scumbag. I mean, first of all, you haven't even got a loan from the Federal Reserve because the Federal Reserve doesn't have a charter, right? So they haven't been loaning anybody anything. They don't have anything. But the trust has been giving money to the government to keep them afloat, right? So there's no debt. And on top of that, it's over a year ago now, Kim already forgave the debt owed by the United States to the Federal Reserve and gave Washington, D.C. back to the United States. So let's get to our sovereignty already, Trump, and let's declare this sucker, man. Be a rock star. Make it happen.
Yeah,
nonsense.
I think I see, in the crystal ball that I have in front of me, that there's still a path to follow here, where they are going to be, moving forward on all these indictments. So we'll see, these reports come out, the D-class, and when that happens, and this is over the next couple weeks, I would say, then these these arrests and whatever they did in going into the Clinton headquarters, grabbing information, whatever is going on there in the background. Obviously, it's not in the news, uh, but the reports are coming out that that's happened. And I don't know what happened in Washington D.C. with that blackout, but that's also suspicious. But there, when these things start percolating in people's, the average person, the one that's still just half an eye open and are still sleeping, that when we get there, that's when I think we'll see this happen, where Trump can come out and and talk about. Well, he does talk about sovereignty, but he's to expect where there will be like a, hey, there's a monarch of the planet, and this is who it is, and I don't know if we're going to see that anytime soon. But
Well, no, I don't think that's. I don't even think that's necessary. To be quite honest, I don't even think Kim. Kim is of the opinion to make other people sovereign as well. You know, so she's not trying to be the only sovereign entity on the planet, even, at least to the best of my knowledge. And we've talked about it. That's always what she says, right? So, but what I think is, in the meantime, I don't see how us having money hurts anything that they're doing in their covert operations. So, as far as I'm concerned, to ask us continually to know what's going on, know what our rights are for those of us who are awake, and know that we can change the world, and know that we can be working towards these things now. We shouldn't have to wait for 1,000 different criminals to be indicted and sealed indictment in the ongoing saga, because this is a delay game, right? So
yeah,
all they ever had to do was delay, 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 because even if we're devouring their resources, they continue to devour people, and they're drawing out every dime people have, right? So people have less and less, and even if they have less and less, they don't have less than we have, so just because they started out with more. So
yeah.
at some point there's got to be a break where it says, okay, now, like,
Oh, I agree. I agree that there's no reason the money shouldn't flow right now. But the public perception of the sovereignty of that is a little outside of what people can absorb. But if we're the guys who are awake and have projects ready to go, if we have money and we start doing things, it will seep out into the world. And so when they ask, "Where'd you get the money?" Oh, well, it's for projects, and anyone that wants to do a project can do a project. And we have our sovereignty back. We will be carrying the message, right? That's but yeah,
just seeing people happy, you'll shift the whole vibrational balance of the planet. I mean, in a few months. I mean, this whole thing gets fast tracked. I mean, immediately when you actually start to see infrastructure be built and being built with ergonomic products, and you start to realize, like, hey, we have free energy. We've got to tell you this. We don't need all this oil. So you'll have oil prices drop. People will just naturally be in a better state all around. You'll have brand new industries pop up everywhere. This should be happening now, in my opinion. I mean, it's not, so I guess I'm wrong, but but to continually, to me, I'm like, I feel like I have direct access to, the money source on the planet, right? Like the direct access, someone I can consider a friend who's already endorsed us to go and work. And to me, I'm like, it's time to get started with that. It is very much time for us to put money in the hands of the people and let's see what they can do. Because I talk to people every single day, and their ideas are incredible. What they can do, what they want to do is amazing. And what they've already researched, they already have working prototypes. They have things that can change the world right now. I mean, and change the world in the favor of humanity, not in the favor of the draconian overlords who want to destroy us and use us as batteries so that they can, turn us all into some digital monster of the Borg. We can no longer let them control our reality. And at the end of the day, it comes down to a stand that we do have to take. And there's billions of us, and there's maybe at one point there was 2 million of them, and they've been killing each other off for like the past 7 years, right? They've been in a faction war vying for control. So while they've been doing that, you know what? It's time for the people to rise up. And I mean, I'm doing all I can. I've got candidates. We've got different candidates that we are supporting. Right now, we have a candidate who's running against Ilhan Omar, who's being threatened constantly, and we're going to coach her through that to keep her safe and also help her promote her message and stay on target. And the message, and I knew we were going to do this. This has been a focus of mine for a while, is to get politicians to actually talk about things that freaking matter, right? Versus, nonsensical. Like, why should anyone ever have to fight? Like, we can't talk about pedophilia or 17 genders or dumb, idiotic things like this when they're poisoning our water. Let's talk about poisoning our water. Give me a candidate who says, look, they're poisoning our water. Here's proof. Here's a recommendation. Here's what it says to do. Why are we even talking about anything else? They're poisoning our drinking water, right? It's like you're right now in a biological war, right? They're using biological weapons against you every single day. What the hell are we talking about here? Why do we keep calling sick care health care, right? These ridiculous programs to maintain functional illness. It's ridiculous. We have cures for cancer. Why is cancer illegal? I'll run on that platform. Maybe the mayor of New York this bullshit that curing cancer is illegal. Nonsense.
Yeah,
Indeed.
Hey, Tui.
Hey, Dan. Hey, Dank.
Hey, what's up, dude?
I'm good, thank you. Well, thank you so much for coming today. Just want to say hi to everyone. Thank you, everyone on the chat room, on the live chat, on everyone watching live. Much love and blessing from Fiji, and it's good to be here today, discussing what's happening on the planet, and much love and blessing. Peace.
Hey, State of the Union, man. What's going on?
My battery is about to run out of juice. Yeah, I was just telling Dan on the way we want to go on, we go all about the what's actually happening here in Fiji, and the transition, and the physical expression of sovereignty that you guys just talked about, and what Kim represent in this whole change that's happening. We are I've talked about the past few days that we're now able to actually do this in a physical way to be able to get our United Kingdom into the private or into the kingdom, and not in a slave public system that we are all in. And we'll try and set an example so easily. And I will be working with Kim to be able to do that together with her, because she is like the most important part of the change. And that's what the elders in the tribes in Australia, the United Kingdom in Australia, and the United Kingdoms in New Zealand, that's what we're gonna work towards and do together here in Fiji. It's very there's a lot of lesson that is learned. There's been a lot of meeting that we're doing here with the chiefs. So I need them to get to understand the understanding about the structure of what sovereignty and what it means, and what the trust represent about sovereignty, and why we have to be spiritually sovereign, and to be able to do this, and why we in this state right now, and how we can actually move forward and create if we can create a new banking private banking network, and how we can actually move forward. I told them that there are some funds that has been kept, and I've been saying that in the past few days, and it's manifesting really fast. And as soon as we start, as soon as we move forward, we'll have to move forward together, and I'll be letting you, Kim, let them know about what is actually happening here. So we would really, really like. I've already talked to the chiefs that we would really like to help from outside to try and create a new system outside of what the current system is right now, which is to be able to work on the private and not in the public, and work together and move the fund as soon as we can. So yeah, that's basically what's happening. There's a lot of meeting that we are having right here, because even this has been like I used to say, it's been seen even 200 and 100 years ago from with our ancestors, and they've kept the asset, or the not the asset, the goal that they've kept it for this particular purpose. So we will just have to try and get our sovereignty and try and get that what you call this, to own and become the beneficiary of the trust, and no longer become slaves. And they are controlling and administrating our public trust. We have to stand, like Tank you just said. We have to know how to do it, not just in a legal way, but also in a financial system kind of way. So yeah, that's basically what we're trying to understand fully and try to do, and try to learn as we go along. Since it's the first time to do this, and to be able to do it in a very long time. And now we're doing it together with all the people, with all the chiefs, and I want everything to be transparent, because this truly means the freedom and the sovereignty of the fifth element, which is the essence within them. So right now, it's going so well. Not I won't go on some specific update right now, because there's still some work in progress that we're doing, and a lot of meeting. Um, and there are big companies that are coming to Fiji, because they've seen this amount of money that has been invested long ago, more than 200 years ago, and because of what the trust has done, because of what Kim has done, unlocking the funds. They've been looking for funds all over, and now they are coming here to Fiji. And as we're speaking, they're already having a meeting in some of the hotels down there in Fiji, down here in the western side. And the chiefs has informed me that they're coming in, and they're trying to get some funding from our VT company, which is the trust that that our ancestors actually set up long ago. And so, yeah, we will see that as soon as the process or as soon as that comes in, I'll be letting everyone know on that, and how we can actually fast track the creation of the banking system that we want to do, and how and the need that Kim can come in and actually give advice and work together with her. Because the only reason why we are in this place right now is because they don't want to work together with Kim. And so that's that's what we're gonna try and create and do again. Thank you.
So, I know you're saying something there, but if if you had the gold, the physical gold, I'd say okay, you have your asset. But if they put it to invest, it's all part of the same system,
Yes.
There's only one system, so it's not your money's not protected. Like it's probably already. I mean, like they're probably having a hard time bringing down the actual asset, turning it into cash, and there's no one else who can monetize it except for Kim. So, I don't know if you've got.
Yes, I understand the probability right now, because I haven't fully know the state, or the what is it. But the last time I spoke, I spoke with the lawyers for that. They were able to move funds, and that's just a few weeks ago. And so we'll see if it's all there in the trust, and we're still in that process right now. And if they're still moving fund outside of the trust, and if it's time to invest it in the changing of the planet, and working, because basically we are the beneficiary, the people of Fiji, the beneficiary to that funds, or to that money. Oh, Jesus.
I don't know what happened there.
I think Jesus showed up. I think that's what I heard. Oh, snap! Jesus. Hate when that happens. Like Jesus, what are you doing here?
Well, I'm just wondering if that gold was used only as an asset, and they referenced it via SKR or something along those lines, meaning that the gold wasn't registered to anything else. It could still be an asset that is not entangled.
Yeah, it's entangled. Look, all the assets on the plan were registered. They were registered to the trust. They just are. I mean, and maybe Kim set something in place, and this could be a complete, just a different way to do it. That is a good way to disguise it, possibly, But at the end of the day, if it was put in investment, right, and that's what they're talking about. They put it in trade platforms and drew the money out to invest in other things. It's registered. That's how they got the money for it, right? They registered it to the asset redemption program. They got an allocation of funds, right? That's why they have these JFK $1 billion, right?
Yeah.
They have, because the actual dollar, the piece of paper that JFK's picture's on for the $1 billion is not an asset. I mean, it's a collector's item maybe, but it's not an asset. It represents this gold. So that means it was registered, and an allocation of currency has already been put out. And being that Fiji doesn't really deal with money much, I would imagine it wouldn't have been too hard to steal that from them.
Right.
Yeah, that's my, just from the outside looking in, and I'm very open. I'd love to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but
well, this was my thinking, and why is because they had set up the land trust for the people there. That was not registered to the trust, so maybe they did the same thing with some gold asset. But maybe they were tricked into it along the way. To register it.
How could they do it and then still invest it and trade it? They couldn't, because they're not investing in trading, the gold. They're investing in trading money.
But if you have an SKR issued, right, because it's in safekeeping, it doesn't mean it's been registered. It means it's being safely kept.
An SKR cannot be kept for more than 30 days legally in the banking laws. So everybody who has these SKRs, they've had for 2-3 years, they're all bogus, every one of them.
Sure. But back 100 years ago, it was a different story, right? When you had an SKR, it wasn't for 30 days. It was much longer. So I'm just saying, whatever they had done in the past, they basically leveraged it back then. I'm just saying it's a possibility. I'm not saying that it absolutely isn't, or been tricked out of it at some point as well. But I mean, I've held one of those Kennedy, $1 billion bills.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
And I said, "Oh, this is nice. I'll just put it in my pocket." And I did. I was joking about
it's a hard bill to spend, I'm sure. Sure.
Yeah. And then, we had a toast around it. It was kind of interesting. And this was at Swiss Indo, actually. They showed that to me. But that's what's interesting, because there was a reference to Indonesia in that $1 billion, and of course, that would be, it might have been taken to Laos where I saw it. So, and I don't know how many of those there exist as well. Oh, it looks like we lost Tui as well on this, but that's all right. Anyway, I think that whatever is about to happen, I think we're going to see some movement, whether it's through this investment through Fiji, or the banks that have agreed to the terms. If they agreed to the terms, this would be like right now, right? It would be like
listen, Kim didn't put all this time and energy into completely restructuring the banking system to get right here and go, you know what, we're going to go a different way. I just don't think that's going to happen. So that's not to take away from the efforts they're making, in Fiji and in New Zealand and Australia, but I just don't see how now they're just going. I mean, they know how to do it, but you're going to start, doing a private banking system. See, anytime I hear, "Oh, we're making so much progress and we're having a lot of meetings," no, you're not. You're not making progress. What you're doing is you're meeting with people, and they're delaying you successfully because they're convincing you you're making progress by having more meetings, but you're not making any progress. You're talking about the same subjects that the ones who are the handlers, right, and the gatekeepers, they already know, so they know what you're going to say, and then they turn around and they immediately say, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just this, or he's just that, or they're lying. That's a scam. All these, and it's so easy to believe because someone else has been in control of the money for so long. So because someone else has controlled the money, the very thought that someone else is now in control of the money, all they have to do to keep that reality in place is not tell the truth about where the money comes from. Because if everyone realized the money has always been put in the trust and it is then allocated from the trust and it attaches back to the asset, then immediately it's like, well, wait, well, then who can bring it down from the trust? They would have to say, well, nobody can bring it down from the trust, right? So then why do you keep saying she's a scam? Well, because we don't want you guys to have any power. I mean, because eventually it's going to get to a point where there has to be some kind of truth and honesty about this, right? So if the same gatekeepers and the same roles played in every single country by somebody who plays that part, right? They know what happens. Their job is to prevent us from knowing. That's their job. So they're doing the exact same thing in Fiji, as far as I can tell. They're doing the exact same thing in Fiji right now. They're trying to prevent them from actually knowing, because if they know what was going on, they'll take action. And as soon as someone does know what's going on, who can take action, in all likelihood, then there'll be a coup. Or then they'll get killed, or then they'll be taken out of power, something like that, because that is their MO. So we can't wait for things like that. In my opinion, I can't say exactly what the course of action is, but people like President Trump, who in every way looks like he's on our side, you know what? A bunch of pomp and circumstances and mind games, I don't give a damn about. What I care about is I want to make sure that we are actually able to not just, let's finally take something that we've allowed to go on for years and years and years in these massive, ridiculous, and they're not even telling the whole story with these pedophilia child trafficking rings. Okay, now let's do something. What are you talking about? What about every child's life that's been destroyed by that? What about every 16,000 kids that are dying every day from freaking hunger when we can cure hunger in a month? What all these ridiculous things that we keep allowing to go on. That responsibility comes on us. That comes down to the people. If we continue to say, okay, we'll just wait. Okay, we will wait ourselves right off a cliff and die. Because if we don't take action of some sort, and we do, it is now. Now is the moment we get to act. Because you let this go on for another month, who knows what's going to happen? Because they are desperate. And you know what? And they are better insulated than we are. They have more funds to work with to do damage. And most people don't even know what the hell's going on. People, the whole Q movement is just thrilled that they're arresting people. You know what? We've been in prison. We've been slaves. We've been here. So before you go and arrest more criminals and put them in prison, let me out first. Let us out first.
Yeah, let us out. Let's get hold of the cash and let's get moving with things. I'm all for it. So if whichever way that happens, but I think that we're going to see these funds coming through these banks. Do you know anything about whether the military, U.S. military, has entered the banks for any reason?
As far as I know, the military has been forcing them to clear things all over the place. I have seen Trump. He's doing certain things. He's putting, he's seems to be allocating funds to different places. If the military is not clearing the funds, I don't know how he could possibly do that. So there must be some level of bank cooperation. But I still fervently believe there has to be, and I pray to God this is true, that in Kim's terms, and I don't know, I don't know, but when she laid out her terms, I pray that she set it up so we get to decide. That we get to decide what parts of the government get paid, because there are federal contractors that are privately owned by by groups, that are loyal to the United Nations, right? They're not loyal to the people. They're loyal to the United Nations agenda. They're loyal to the practical idealism of promoting radical Islamic belief systems. They're loyal to the perversion of religions to use them as mind control. They're loyal to lying through the mass media constantly to control the collective consciousness. Now, you have to enlighten people at some point, and that those decisions, we have got to be allowed to take the world back. Now, the assets are what ultimately allows us to make decisions. Because if we have equal assets or better, really, and we should, just based on time, we should have a greater sum of assets at this point that comes into the people so we can start our own media and our own channels that actually tell the truth, that are well funded, that can compete with these, that we can actually buy up land and mines and gold and all types of things that we can actually use to generate real jobs, real cures, real solutions to problems that are easy to solve. Unless they are just a pack of retards in this whole system. I mean, how could someone like me, I in my little pipeline, I have six different groups, from actual cures to medical devices to herbal cures, that already have the cure to cancer. But we have things like, the Cancer for Kids and, promote the research, donate to it, to research cancer. We don't need to research cancer anymore. We know what the freaking cure is. You know what else we know? We know that radiation poisoning is fatal 100% of the time. It will kill you. Nobody goes through chemotherapy and then doesn't die from chemotherapy. Everybody who goes into chemotherapy, they tell them you're going to have they make it seem like it's like you're an alcoholic, right? You're an alcoholic. Even when you stop drinking, you're still an alcoholic, they say. Such nonsense. If you don't drink, you're not an alcoholic. I'm sorry. You're not. The nonsense that they preach to people is ridiculous.
It's a different programming.
Right. You don't have to have cancer. You know what? If you get cancer, whatever you do not get chemotherapy. Because I don't know the cure for chemotherapy. Radiation poisoning. I don't know. I know one guy who overcame it, and he's a chiropractor and a nutritionist. I don't know anyone else who has. As soon as you get chemotherapy, it does such horrible damage to you on so many levels. You go through the cancer stages for the next 30 years where you are perpetually having cancer, right? Every 5 or 6 years or so, you get cancer again. So I can't cure that. But you know what? If you get cancer, listen, and you have a little bit of money, I can connect you with at least 6 different groups that can cure it. So why does this continue to go on? These things are these are laws that we don't have to follow. They are automatically in the violation of the Constitution. That these organizations are in violation of our constitutional rights. But if we do not claim our constitutional rights, if we do not stand up for our constitutional rights, if we do not acknowledge our constitutional rights and say, no, you can't do that, then they are void. They're taken from us. We no longer have them. Now, right now, they're trying to do that. They realize that we're waking up to certain things, and they're trying to mock the Constitution and say it's old-fashioned. These things are so antiquated. These old traditions. These are not old traditions. My right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Anybody who tells me that's old-fashioned, go to hell. I will be pursuing that, and nobody's going to take it. So that's kind of thing where I'm just like, that's got to change now. And I'm doing all I can every day that I think of.
I think that we had talked a little bit before we got on the air, and we're talking about Trump going this Twitter war against the four
horsewomen of the apocalypse.
Yeah, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse squad, the squad. So, and I was saying that he's doing it on purpose to basically run against the squad as the face of the Democratic Party, regardless of who their nominee is for president. That he's running against those 4. He's running against socialism, and that's why he's drawing them out. And I think that's the whole point, is to basically kill off socialism, communism, by really just putting it out there in front of everyone, because it's been hidden. They've been hiding it and slowly creeping in over time. And this is their now that they're exposed, he wants them out front and center so that he can say, listen, we're here. We're never going to be socialist. and these are the socialists. It's going to be the end of the Democratic Party as everyone has known it, and it's going to, whether it's going to split or whatever is going to happen, but it's going to take them 30 years to recover, and this is a time for us to come out and make a move, right? Make something happen. For the first time, we really have a chance to take control. Both parties, there's at least the right patriotism is in the Republican dogma. Whether or not the actual leaders that get elected are really true Republican in what in the patriot sort of way, but we have the time to come up. That's why I literally come back. I literally think about coming back to to America to run for office, just to make, because now it's the time to stand up and do something. But I also have a lot.
Go back to your hometown in Pennsylvania, because I have some people that have been wrongfully imprisoned there that are like 12 years into a sentence, that I need some help from the government there to get them out. So, and we will fully back you, Dan. I would love to have you in office. It'd be great.
That would be wonderful. But whether to go to California, which I lived most of my life, or to Pennsylvania, where my brothers and mother are, that is a question. I have loyalties to both of those states. Put it that way. What would make a better? What would make a more strategic?
If you go run against Maxine Waters or Nancy Pelosi, I would love that. That would be. I will come manage your campaign, Dan. That's how much.
So you're telling me I either have to move to San Francisco, or I have to move to Watts.
I think
I'd probably rather move to Watts, quite frankly. Every time I pass through San Francisco, I stop to get gas. I'm always being propositioned by other guys.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if I want to live here, but
yeah. Well, I'm about identifying every one of these cells they have that are built that are just bragging and openly just looking like fools repeatedly over and over again, coming out with things. I mean, there's 13% of the people say they'll vote for Cortez in her own district. She's out on a border, staging, her grief and, oh, my heart's breaking for these children. I can't believe it. It's like, you liar. Either you're just dumb and you don't see what's going on at all. But meanwhile, your water's being poisoned in your own district. Come home and do your job, right? Do something here versus trying to contribute, to the, national theater that you're creating. This kind of nonsense has got to stop. We got to stop pretending to have leaders, and we need leaders to stand up to be leaders, and actually take positions. So, I mean, these things are like, the platform to run on for anybody who wants to take these people out across the board, which we, as the Speak Project, Create Change, Guardian of Camelot, any organization I'm associated with, we will support any candidate who runs on pro-Constitution and actually has the courage to call them out for violating our constitutional rights and talks about issues that actually matter. If one more person gets up talking, what are the four horsewomen of the apocalypse even saying? What is their justification for they demand that Trump is impeached based on what? That he doesn't like you? Crazy. They said horrible things about him.
Impeachment is for saying that that's an indictment, right? Is what it is. Impeachment is an indictment. Doesn't mean you're guilty or anything. It's an indictment of a high crime or misdemeanor. So, what is the high crime or misdemeanor that Trump had said to say? If you don't like it here, go back to where you came from, fix the places that you say that because you're such an expert on fixing the country. You fix that country, then come back here and show us how to do it.
Hey, you know what? I think it's even. How about you just go back to your states and do something there? Like Cortez, come back to the Bronx and make sure people have clean water before you start talking about anything else. Shut your mouth and go do your job. But hey, this guy is he's going to run against her. I'm going to put so much energy into this guy. I am so excited. I reached out to him today, and I'm going to do everything in my power to get that man elected. I'm going to give him so much evidence to crush Cortez and he'll have a public platform to do it. We're going to plan it and strategize. Look, here's where you bring it out. What is she doing out there when she could be here fixing the water? Why don't we go out to the water? That alone, there would be a monumental debate. He would be the most outspoken, controversial, and popular candidate in the history of our government. It'd be amazing. This guy's talking about things that matter. Can you imagine? Oh my! Imagine if our government talked about, hey, listen, I don't know if everybody knows this, but they're trying to kill everybody. I want to stop. My platform is I want to stop them from killing us. How about that? How about we go with that one? I'm not worried about, like, hey, Texas can deal with the border.
I think you're a racist.
Well, I'm white, so
Yeah.
I can't
you
help
want to
it,
stop
right?
everyone from killing you. That's because you're a racist.
Right. Well, and that's what they're going to impeach President Trump on. They're going to accuse him of being white, and once they establish he is white, that would be enough. That'll be brought into law by I'm sure New York and California.
They have an uphill battle. They have an uphill battle because they've already determined that he's orange.
Yeah. What are you gonna do about that? Right. Because they can say whatever they want. They can say horrible, idiotic things over and over again. And not even everyone. I don't even know who actually supports them. I mean, is it really anybody who's like, yes, this is what we're about? Like these crazy, and mainly I see the three. I'm not familiar with the black woman who's there. I'm not sure who she is exactly, but Cortez and Ilhan Omar and that other allegedly Palestinian woman.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, so apparently Omar's comes from a family that her father was committed war crimes in Somalia, and he was the one in the government there and committed war crimes. Currently, he came to America illegally, and is here illegally. And so, how is she here? Because she married her brother. I mean, there has to be something in there to actually get rid of her as a congresswoman. That there's something not legitimate about her candidacy, and she should be removed.
Well, here's the thing. There's a couple things we could talk about with Ilhan Omar that make her an actual impeachable and illegitimate candidate. She has spoken publicly at events supporting an organization that has called for a jihad against President Trump, openly and publicly, and it's known. Wouldn't that be a reason to take her out? I mean, you're part of an organization that is calling for a jihad against the president, right? You're calling for an assassination based on you only answer to God. Like, wait a minute. Like, how did you get in this position? Unless you're systematically taking radical Muslims to take over a community and essentially infiltrate our government and take out positions so that you can maintain power, according to the ideas that are supported and have been paid for by the Rothschilds, outlined in the book of the 1920s, Practical Idealism. Just throwing that out there. Just a guess. And we have one thing I do like about Ilhan Omar, she's not hiding it. I mean, like, it wouldn't surprise me if, like, in one of her speeches, like, she just goes off something like "Death to America." Like, she's that, like, hardcore. Like, it would not surprise me.
Well, I do think she's using subterfuge because she's not saying this on the camera, right? At least she does some things, but not as radical as she states on her tweets. It's kind of like what was happening, if you remember, the Palestinian leader. What was his name? He was there forever. under I'm drawing a blank on his name. The head of the Palestinians, like during like all of Reagan and all of Clinton and uh, anyway, but he was always saying things on camera, one thing, but then he'd turn around and he'd speak in Arabic, which would be completely the opposite of what he just said in English, right? So literally hiding it in the, having two faces. So I think she is, somewhat tailoring her message when she's like in front of the camera with the Fab Four, but it would be much more Val when she's, in a different setting.
Well,
that the press will protect her.
You know what? You know what's becoming kind of obvious though right now is you can see in the way the Democratic Party is devouring themselves, and they don't know how to do this, right? They don't know what they've always done is they've played both sides of every war. And to do that, you have to really stay true to the doctrine and the rhetoric that your side is preaching, right? So if they were trying to create a war and a division here in the United States, you'd want to keep it liberal and conservative and really keep this big gap divided, right? But now you have like Pelosi, who's just losing her mind, right? Like she said something like Trump is killing millions of people at the border. Meanwhile, Pelosi, you fraud, and Mnuchin, the loser, we know that you blocked the funding to prevent people from disaster relief in Paradise, California, after they were incinerated in their cars, but the trees didn't burn down. And Hurricane Michael came through and left 1.2 million people homeless. You've done nothing to allow that money to come in to help them. You've stood your ground and said, as the treasurer of the United States, he says he answers to no one. That's what Powell said too at the Federal Reserve. They answer to no one. Go and take them out. Period. I mean, they are committing acts of treason. They defy constantly. I'm sorry. The lawyer told me I can't use it. I can't say treason because treason is very specific. But I'm still pretty sure it's treason. It's because they're working for a foreign entity and trying to take over the government. So that's treason, right?
That's treason.
I mean, that's treason, right? So, I was looking at it today, and we talked to this constitutional expert who's actually in a major lawsuit to reveal some pretty heavy stuff that I can't talk about yet, but really gonna give the good guys some weapons that are incredible. And I told him, I'm like, you need to talk about this in public all the time, because if you're waiting for the court system to bring it out in public, it's never going to happen. You need to try this in the court of public opinion as well, because if not, it's going to get buried with you and you'll lose. But in this, we were talking about all these different things with the Constitution. I'm like, I realized the entire establishment of the corporate entity known as the United States, right? They are the United States Corporation. It's unconstitutional from the start. So, according to jurisprudence, all the UCC laws are violated. They're garbage. We don't have to abide by any of them because they're not constitutional. And the law of this land is that the Constitution is the law of the land. It's the absolute. These are laws and rights given to us by God. They cannot be taken by a government. Therefore, my right to pursue life, to have life, liberty, and happiness, and pursue happiness, those are my rights you can't take. You can't take those rights. You can't infringe on my constitutional rights. So therefore, the very establishment of a corporate entity that supersedes the Constitution and my constitutional rights is in itself unconstitutional.
You're right. No, I've said that. Like that used to be like one of my main arguments, like a decade ago. It's like, how can you have something super? Yeah, what's that?
So I'm just catching up.
Oh. Well, yeah, it's not that I came up with it, right? But it's people that around me that were talking about these things. But that would be one of those arguments that was like, this is so obvious, right? How can you have something? It's just that people didn't understand because they renamed the Virginia Company into the United States of America, and everyone thinks that it's the same words, but the spelling is different in capital letters, and it's like. how's people supposed to know the difference, right?
Tricky.
Yeah.
Well,
So this
even
fraud, this is a form of fraud. For them to create the system, it's also a fraud on the whole population.
I never understand why this is such a big deal. What's the difference between the statements, the United States of America or the United States for America?
Yeah.
Like, why?
So it's the Constitution for America, United States, lowercase United States of America. I mean, but if it's saying it's for and or of, so I guess I don't even know how to explain the difference.
Well, you know what? Actually, I guess
it's I know the difference.
If it's the United States of America, so it's basically that's the corporation that's generated from America. That would make everything to protect the government.
Yes.
If it's United States for America, then that is we have united the people, that is, and this contract is for the people, and we are united in this, that this is for us, for the people.
Yeah.
It's somewhere in that range, I think.
Yeah. So if you say like it's lowercase united, lowercase states. So what is a state? And what is the United States if it's lowercase? It's not a proper noun, right? Right. It's a state. And what is a state? So real estate, it's
It's a state of, it's a space where you exist, right?
yes.
Whether dimensional or otherwise, United States, right?
So we have all these United States. So I had one under when I was doing the Personomy outline. There was a structure there that would allow you to put on the persona that was of your state, of a geographical area of a state, right? And so that you would be, let's say, part of and voting, as part of that state by geographic region, right? And you'd only be able to have one geographic region that you would be part of, and so on. Even though you could live somewhere else, but you designated yourself as there for whatever that reason was. Even if you moved, if you didn't move, you couldn't vote anywhere else. But anyway, so I was trying to, I expanded that into other states, meaning that it didn't have to be by geographical area. Right. So you could align yourself with a group that had a certain state of mind.
Right. It's a state of existence, like the space, whether whether or perception, right? Your state of mind. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. And but we're united.
Your audio changed. What happened?
Is this bad now?
It's just different.
It's
not necessarily bad. The other way I think was a little better, but this is still okay.
Yeah, I gotta move, so I put my headset on.
Okay, so I got you. So and also your new phone, the camera on it is excellent.
Oh, good. All right. Thank you to the very kind benefactors who purchased that for me and sent it to me. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, whatever model or whatever it is, it probably has a good way of viewing you in lighting and dark lighting and whatever, because it's a very good video quality coming through, and audio quality too.
That's good. All right, I'm glad to hear that. Well, hey, they just contributed to upgrading the Speak project. I appreciate that. Trying all the time.
I appreciate it.
Well, what's good is that my other phone had been so infected with viruses so badly that's why they were constantly hacking my phone for everything. So it's nice to get a new phone too for that reason. So thank goodness.
Yeah, that's wonderful. All right. Well, I think are we good for today?
Yeah, man. Good to catch up and talk to everybody. And I am 1,000% sure, 1,000% sure that we are breaking through, that we are sovereign, and this is all going down. It's all going down. So um, let's just hold that vibe, man. Make it happen. So everybody, have a good night. Peace out from New York. Thank you as always, Dan.
All right, thank you, Tank, for joining, and thanks for everything that you're doing over there, and for your benefactors that helped you with the phone thing. I thank you personally for helping Tank out with that phone. Uh, we all appreciate it, I know, because it sounds so much better.
Oh,
All right, guys, everyone, see you tomorrow.
all right, later, Dan.
All right, bye, and bye, Tui.